Hello and welcome to Trek Tuesday. My name is John Trent. I'm the editor-in-chief at Bounding Into Comics, and I am joined by my co-host, Donald Edmonds. How are you doing today?
Wonderful.
Great. So we're going to be talking about, what's episode 10, I think? On Netflix, it's episode
Yeah,
10, I
10.
believe, called The Nagus. So we're just going to give a brief summary. We do get into spoilers here, so if you don't want to be spoiled from a show that aired in the 90s, please
Dude,
turn
guys,
back now.
catch up. Catch up.
Yeah,
Jeez.
catch up before you watch. That's good too. But yeah, so we'll get into like a brief summary. Basically, this was kind of there were two story threads in this episode. The main one saw, and they're both Ferengi focused. The main one saw the Grand Nagus Zek arrive on Deep Space Nine, and he is planning his succession as the Ferengi look to expand into the Gamma Quadrant because in the Alpha Quadrant, their reputation is now preceding them, and their enemies are telling lies and all these bad things about them. So they're looking for people that will trust them openly. And as Zek's son says, what does he say here? He says, where is it here? Oh, our word can be our bond until we decide to break it. Yeah, that's their
They
goal.
just burned all their bridges throughout the galaxy, and then they're just looking to swindle some more people.
Yep, exactly. So you have an interesting succession with Quark kind of being named the Grand Nagus, and then how he operates as the Grand Nagus, and we get we learn quite a bit about Ferengi culture. We learn their two rules of acquisition. We learn two of them. We know there's at least six, so maybe we'll get some more of those, but they do tell us what two of them are. And then in the second sub story, Nog and Jake are having issues with their friendship with both their parents. Nog's dad, I think his name's Brom. Rom. Yeah, Rom has banned his son from going to school, and there seems to be a falling out because humans and Frankie don't get along, and we kind of try to figure out what happens there between Jake and Nog. And at the end of the day, it puts a big smile on Daddy Cisco's face as he beams with pride in the last shot of the episode.
Dude, I'm smiling.
Yeah. So before we kind of dive into this a little bit more, I want to say hey to the chat. I see Joaquin Ovejero has joined us. Thank you, Joaquin, for joining us. We appreciate it. And Kogi Pan, thank you again for joining us, Kogi Pan. We appreciate that. All right. So what was your initial reaction to this episode?
I liked it better than the last episode. I know you
I don't
guys.
think that's hard to do.
Yeah. I know you guys reviewed the last episode, but this one definitely was. It put a smile on my face during a lot of those touching moments. The Ferengi culture is just hilarious. When Negan came on, or the Grand Nagus, sorry,
Zek
reminded me of Master Roshi.
Okay, yeah, I can
when
see
he was
that.
like,
yeah, he's like, ooh, the hollow sweets.
The
Yeah,
Hollow
give
Sweet.
me all
These are my
five.
5 personal favorites. Yeah, I'm gonna do all of them. Just an old pervert, and his
Well, he
voice
talks
is-
about that too in the when he fakes his death. He's like talking about the where he's gonna go on vacation. It's like what the women look like.
Yeah, and his voice sounds so familiar. I forgot to look up who the actor was, but it's very Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah, he has a high pitched voice. The other, very different from the other Frankies who didn't have their voice wasn't as high pitched. But yeah, it was definitely a very iconic. He had a very iconic voice to him. Not iconic, but distinctive. I guess is the word that I'm looking for. So this episode was written by David Livingston, directed by David Livingston. The teleplay was by Ira Stephen Bear. Let's see, who is Zek? Doesn't say here that I'm looking at. I'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Jorge would know if he was here, I bet, or Drew. They're like really good at the knowing the actors. See, I try not to pay attention to who's actually playing them because you shouldn't really know who's playing them. They should be the character and not the actual actor.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes they like to spruce up the tree a little bit.
Max Grodenchik, maybe? No, that's one of the other ones. I'm on the wrong. I probably should have just gone to IMDb. Oh well. I'll figure it out later. But yeah. So you enjoyed. He reminded you of Master Roshi. Do you like that?
Oh yeah, totally. The old man pervert or Jiraiya a little bit.
John Willis says he looks like a funnel cake or a Chicago pretzel. Yeah, he was pretty wrinkly.
The elephant ears.
Yeah, the big ears. Anything else that stood out with like an initial reaction that
O'Brien came back.
Yeah, he did. He got a little bit of a bit role.
And then Keiko was still on Earth.
Yeah, they said that she's still there for another 2 weeks, I think. I guess still just visiting family and grieving over her mother passing away. So I'll tell you my initial reaction. I enjoyed this episode. I actually found myself laughing quite a bit at just how over the top greedy the Ferengi are and how they actually view greed as a value and it's like a good thing. And they embrace that, and then you have like the whole, like even like the when they're in the schoolroom with O'Brien, and their like discussion is like, did you write a paper on ethics? Or they had to like submit a paper on ethics, and then Nog is like convincing Jake to lie that he doesn't have his ethics paper, and I just thought that was just funny to me because it was so ironic.
No, the reason he said was a Vulcan stole it.
Yeah, he blamed it on a Vulcan. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. I don't know what you're saying in the chat there. I don't understand what you're asking, Don.
Oh, don't worry about it.
I'll
tell you later.
Okay. I know. Okay, I understand what you're saying now. You were wondering why I
yeah.
Stopped my camera. Yeah. But so yeah, I really like the Nog and Jake line. I think storyline because I really think that represents what Starfleet wants to be, and they really did a good job because you actually had that conversation with Cisco and Jake, and he's asking them about the Ferengi. And Cisco says our values don't really mesh well, and sometimes that's just how it is. Jake doesn't accept that at all, and then he goes behind his dad's back, so disobeys his dad, which pisses Cisco off a little bit, makes him worry as well. But then he finds out that he's tutoring Nog and teaching him while he's been banned from attending the school by his father. Right. So I found that I really liked that and how it ended. So that was really good. I really did enjoy that part a lot. And that's kind of what you want in Star Trek is showing that living up to its future, that better future.
And it's like some genuine thing that only the 90s could bring. Like you go into these other shows, more recent shows, you don't get, what's the word I'm looking for? Heart. A lot of that heart that, like you could get that from like old Simpsons episodes as well. There was this over the top comedy, but then there was heart put into it, where they would have a genuine family moment between Bart and Homer or something. But this was a heart moment where Cisco understands why Jake was hanging out with Nog, and he relents on his anger, and he understands his son more. So something that's missing that I really enjoyed watching in a show that I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, that I do. I mean, it was it was a very family drama moments because you get those moments of Cisco being concerned, worried, angry at one point. He gets advice from Dax where you're like, oh, he's gonna go out and he's gonna get the whip or the belt, not the whip, sorry, the belt, and he's gonna give Jake some good old discipline because he missed dinner, he stayed up to midnight the night before. He doesn't look like a good thing, and then he finds out, oh. What you're doing makes me really made him like just respect his son, feel pride with his son, love his son almost even more, if you can even say that. And you don't really see a lot of that stuff anymore, like you said, and I think it was really well done. So everyone in the chat here, Barry On is saying greed is good, Nagus Gordon Gecko. Maybe it's because they commit more crimes. Kogi Pond. Was that Odo? Did Odo say that? That sounds like something Odo might say. I don't remember that line from the episode, but that does sound like something Odo would say. Barry On saying that was a good bait and switch. You think Jake's getting corrupted by Nog, but then you find out Jake's helping Nog. That character was done so much better than Esley. I'm assuming that's a TNG character.
Now, I'll disagree a little bit there because they were both women watching.
Previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at the end of the episode, too, they see a
oh, yeah.
a curvature walk by, and they their eyes are glued.
They're young boys. That's what young boys do.
And so do the old Ferengi.
Yes, I mean, the old Ferengi definitely. The old Ferengi might do it even more than the young ones. It seemed like. Oh, Wesley. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh, Wesley.
I see Barry On. I don't understand those references because
this is the problem. Both of us have no background in any Star Trek. We're just watching this show, and it's isolated.
Yeah.
For us.
So yeah, you have to understand that for Don and I, we are Star Trek noobs. Just going through this, but I do agree with Barry On that the bait and switch was really good because you're almost kind of cheering on Cisco and like, get him, Cisco. You need to put him in, teach him the right way. He's going off course, and then you do find out that he didn't need to do that. He had raised his son really well, and his son was embracing humanity's role in the galaxy by embracing other cultures, and he talks to his dad about that as well, and he really believes in that, and he was willing to act on it as well. So I thought that was really well done. So I really like that. I like the Ferengi stuff. I laughed quite a bit. We didn't get as much Odo and Quark as what I would have thought in a very Quark centric episode, but there was that one part where we do get a little bit of back and forth where Quark is like, you're also supposed to kiss the scepter.
I love that part. It's like,
Odo just like walks away and is like, no, that's not happening. He's like, are you joking? And then he just walks off. And then Quark, after he's already gone, he's like, well, I might just have to make an exception for you. So I just love that. That like whoever's writing the dialogue. I mean, I guess they'd have multiple people writing the dialogue because this one was done by who did I say it was? David Livingston. And I think we've had a couple other writers, but whoever's been doing the Odo and Quark dialogue has just been absolutely nailing it. I'm sure they had a writer's room that's been really like honing in on that stuff. But yeah. Dude, that's some of the best stuff of this entire season so far. John Willis is saying Quark has strayed from the purest Ferengi faith. I don't know. I don't understand that comment, and you have to elaborate on that one for me. Barry On is like, this is your Star Trek deflowering. Yeah, pretty much for both of us. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so what was your favorite part?
Favorite part? It would have to be that moment where Cisco walks in and sees Jake teaching Nog. That got me. Like, a lot of women go, oh. I was like, that's kind of. That had me I had to sit back.
Hit you in the feels. Hit you in the feels. Huh?
I don't get hit in the feels very often, but every now and then. if the writing is well enough, it gets me. The only other time I got hit in the feels was like Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, where you had to kill boss. That's, you know.
Yeah, so for me, it's kind of a similar thing. Father, not I don't know the Metal Gear Solid reference.
The hobbits and
okay, I know the
Aragorn saying, "Why are you bowing to me?" And
Right.
then the
Yes.
whole kingdom bows to the hobbits.
Yeah. That is a
Yeah.
really touching scene. I will say one of probably the most. I know we're getting a little bit off track here, but a very similar scene to this with the father and the son was Men in Black 3, when Will Smith realizes that it's his father, and that's why he doesn't know his father, because his father sacrifices himself in order for him to defeat that alien that's like killing everything, and then that realization that he was talking to his dad, and that's why he doesn't know why his dad died. He finds out why his dad died. That just got to me in Men in Black 3. But yeah, that's a very you see that that's kind of reversed. That was the son feeling pride for his dad's sacrifice and that realization, whereas this one it's more the dad seeing
the son,
the pride in his son. Yeah, I really like that too. I would probably say that's probably my favorite part too. A close second was the conclusion with Quark and Rom, and Rom is like, oh no, he's gonna get me, and Quark is like, you're getting a promotion. I didn't know you had that Everest in you. Great job, I love it. And I just thought that was hilarious.
Here's the thing. So we had the last time I was on the live stream, there was that episode where he hired these murderers to help.
Yeah, the mercs.
The guy that took over Bashir, and now, these two other Ferengi were ready to pop the airlock and send Quark out into space. That's attempted murder. What are the consequences? What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, that is something that we've been critiquing quite often. I mean, last episode, Move Along Home, there were no consequences for what were they called?
Well, that was a weird one because they were saying that no one was really in danger.
Yeah, but they also kidnapped them, though. They're still kidnapping them. Kidnapping is still a crime. There's no consequences for the Wadi kidnapping them and putting them in that game, even though there was like no physical harm to them. There's still, that's like saying like, oh, yeah, I kidnapped you and then I released you, but there was no harm. I didn't do any other thing physically to you. I mean, you're still kidnapping them.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then like you said, the bounty hunter or the law policeman or whatever she is, the marshal, like executes the guy's consciousness that's like stored on that like data disk, and there's no consequences for that either. So yeah, we don't see consequences of the crime. We haven't seen Quark doesn't pay when Odo catches him trying to steal from the he's because he starts the plague, remember, or he like spreads the plague from the what are they called?
The Babel episode.
Yeah, the Babel episode. But what are those things called? I'm totally blanking.
Replicators.
The replicators. Yeah, thank you. The replicators, and to like so his menu can keep so he can keep his bar open. And he doesn't pay any consequences for that either. Even when Odo catches him red-handed, he doesn't pay any consequences. So yeah, that is something that we've talked about. There's crimes committed, and no one really has to pay the Pied Piper because the episodes usually end before they even get to those consequences. And Odo was right there, like Odo saves him and everything, and they were literally about to like push the button and execute Quark, which is just insane. So John Wilson is saying it's such a foundational episode. Until now, Quark was the most un-Ferengi we had ever known. This kind of explained his exile. Okay, because the original Star Trek, The Next Generation, presented them as raiders of the Takan Empire and adversaries, but little else. So they were like warrior people in TNG, John Willis?
Well, there was so in the first episode, Quark is kind of just like traveling, and he wants to get off the ship for whatever reason, if I remember correctly. But he's not
In Deep
able
Space
to.
Nine.
Yeah, but he's not able to go back to his homeworld. If I'm correct, if I'm remembering correctly.
No, I thought they were trying to. I thought they were trying to get rid of him, and or he no, he was about to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everything had just been trashed. He was about to leave, and Cisco ensures that he stays. Because they want to keep the promenade, so people there will still be like a way for the ecosystem of the station to maintain, and Quark's is part of that with the bar, with the main shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Yeah, John Wilson says that the Ferengi were like Klingons with whips. Yeah, we definitely get a different. That's definitely not how they were portrayed here in Deep Space Nine. So that's like a huge change. Maybe they have like Ferengi cousins or something that are like more warrior like, and these are like the upper class ones maybe. But all right. So what was your kind of least favorite part of this episode?
I wrote it down here. Least favorite was some of the day players. They didn't have any kind of presence. So this dude, my horde do not.
Or the bodyguard.
Oh yeah, or yeah. My horde do. Yeah, the bodyguards, they automatically like suspected him, and then I had to remember. Wait, who was that?
Like, yeah, it was Odo. Odo suspected him because he knew of that. There was like there's a one-off dialogue that he says to Cisco when they're on the bridge or the command center, where he tells him, Odo tells Cisco that the Mahardu's species are like loyal to a fault. It would be very odd for him not to be at his funeral, and so that's why he suspected him, and then he started to investigate as Odo does. So I thought that was understandable because it's like Odo knowing knowledge of this alien species that we didn't know, telling us in a line of dialogue, and then acting on it as Odo does, because remember Odo is he's gut centric. He follows his gut, and then also follows his evidence, because he's not afraid of like slipping down underneath the barriers to get to where he wants to go. Yeah. And breaking the rules. He's not afraid of breaking the rules to obtain justice.
Yeah, but my issue as an audience member is he dropped that name, and nowhere else in the episode did I hear that name. So I had to roll through the roulette of who was part of that party that came in on the ship. And I'm like, wait, is it his son? Is my Hordu his son? No, that doesn't make sense. That's too long of a Ferengi name. And then maybe it's the tall thing. Okay, the tall thing barely had any screen time. So yeah, that was the weakest part for me.
I get what you're saying there. I think they do point him out as the silent bodyguard, but yeah, it makes sense that he. Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
What was your weakest part?
Hold on. My weakest part was. I'm trying to think here. I did not write it down. I guess.
Nog's acting.
No, I didn't have any issues with that.
Because that kid is a strong actor.
Yeah, he was really good.
I know there were laws against like children showing up on screen for more than an hour, or doing more than an hour's work on set, but yeah, he delivered his lines and acted the way a kid would act, and given the situation he was in.
Yeah, he did a really good job. Ensign Ricky, you need to DM me. I don't know what your Twitter handle is. Sorry. Frankie's rage quit when Quarks or something. Yeah, I guess that kind of was a little weak part when Grand Nagus Zek announces Quark as the chosen one to be his successor, and you just saw all the other Ferengies just like ah, and they just like tossed their chairs away and like all got upset. And then I guess like when Quark is kind of the Grand Nagus and like making all of these deals, and then I don't know. I feel like I know it's like kind of like he was just kind of thrown into the situation as Grand Nagus, but as a Ferengi, we've seen what he can do. Like, and he did kind of adapt to the role a little quickly. But when he's talking about protection, we like you said, we just saw him hire a bunch of mercs, and then he's like, he doesn't realize there's going to be like attempts on his life, and then just stuff like that. I just thought that was kind of a little weak there. I think I would have liked to seen him handle that a little bit better in that situation, because I think he would. I mean, we've seen him deal with like high stress situations, being in control of situations as well. Like you said, he is resourceful. He's very quick-witted. He's cunning. He's able to. They talk about him evading Odo makes him like a better crook. Like he admits that. So there's that stuff too. But yeah, that's probably my weakest part was just I would have liked to seen him just be a little bit more prepared for that role. Instead, he goes like begging to the Grand Nagus for advice instead of kind of adapting to it and kind of, because you already see him kind of boss around his brother quite a bit. So and he's kind of had worked his brother over, where his brother was basically going to be subservient to him until he denies him the bar after he's promoted. Mm-hmm. So you have that point. So yeah, I just thought that was I thought that was a little weak point as far as just Quark being able to handle that, especially. We get that one scene, I guess. I'm getting an echo from you, Ensign Ricky.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
I had like 3 tabs open. I'm like trying to fucking get the tabs and go one at a time. I'm like, oh, this one.
Right.
How'd you like that episode? Nagus is a great episode, man.
Yeah, I think we both enjoyed it. We'll get to our final scores here in a bit, but we were just talking about what our least favorite part of this episode was, and I was kind of saying it was Quark handling his role as the Grand Nagus. I think he would have been a little bit better equipped for it, especially since he's kind of already been running the bar. He deals with other Ferengi already underneath of him, so he would have been able to ascend into that role and deal with these other Ferengi who are trying to like plot against him, because he's always dealing with Odo trying to get him. And you would assume, and they even show in the backstory, that he betrayed his cousin and then had him locked up by the authorities. So he's already like they put that in there, and then he's like begging the Grand Nagus for advice because he feels like kind of overwhelmed. And I just don't think that, like, I don't know, that felt like really weird to me. And I know that was more of that scene was more of like, we need to get Quark back to the Nagus so he can like fake his death kind of for the rest of the episode. But it would have been more interesting if like maybe Quark was moving to delegitimize the Grand Nagus, because like I think that's what Quark would do. He'd be like, oh, you're an idiot. Like, what does he say here? The 6th rule of acquisition is never allow family to stand in the way of opportunity. Yes. So he would have literally embraced that and been like, okay, if you're not going to allow family, then you're definitely not going to allow your guy that just appointed you to stand in the way. You're going to immediately delegitimize him and like ensure that you're.
As far as the rule of acquisition go, this is probably the most broken rule of acquisition by the Ferengi. Is never let family, especially in DS9, because I mean they go against this rule so many times. But this is the first episode with the rules of acquisition, and we get 2 of them, and the 6th rule. And this is also this whole episode, the whole Ferengi thing was based off The Godfather. So
they break the first rule here. The first rule is broken in the episode. Once you have their money, you never give it back. Quark gives back the title of Grand Nagus to Zek when it's revealed he's alive. Like, he should never have done that. But yeah, so. And I don't think he would. That's why that was just a little bit of a mischaracterization, I think.
I think Wall Shawn said he actually fell asleep in the makeup during one of the scenes because
is that the actor?
Yeah, the Wall. Well, he's the one that the inconceivable guy from The Princess Bride. That's who plays the Grand. Yeah, that's who plays the Grand Nagus. It's Wall Shawn. And it was funny because they did an interview with him, and I think it was this episode or one of the next ones that he actually, because they worked so many hours, he was in the makeup and he actually fell asleep like during one of the scenes in the makeup, and they're like, "Is he sleeping?"
That's great. I mean, there's a lot. You can tell there's a lot of makeup on there. It looks really good.
Oh, yeah.
Still, I think it still holds up for the most part. The only pieces that I think don't really hold up well is the CGI with Odo like doing his like slime, but even then it's not it's obvious what he's doing.
CGI was in its infancy. I mean, DS9 is the first hints of actual superimposed CGI in Star Trek. Like you'll see as the series progresses, it obviously gets way better, but in TNG they didn't have the ability to do the effects like Odo until later, until like 7.
It's what was Beast Wars, only like 4 or 5 years after that.
Well, I mean, like they put it this way. They did an interview with one of the special effects guys. I forgot was Westmore Drexler, and he's like, you don't see any laser shots in TNG, and the reason why is because at that time to put a laser shot in TNG, it was like $3,500 per laser. Whoa. And it's like, yeah. So as time progressed, it got expensive. By the time they said he got to Enterprise, it was $50 a shot. So, I mean, that's why you see explosions everywhere in Enterprise, because the CGI price went down. And he's like, now you can do it on your phone. You know, and it's the truth. It's the God honest truth, but this era of DS9 right here is right when they started really introducing CGI into Star Trek. And Odo is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because T2 was what year? And that kind of has that same kind of liquid CGI.
That's like season 6 and 7. Yeah, that's when they really started getting good with the effects.
5, 6, Terminator 2 was 91, so
91.
It was a couple years before.
Yeah.
Well, DS9 was originally conceived in 92, and it was produced in 92, and it aired in 93.
Mm-hmm.
So
what was your least favorite part?
My least favorite part? Probably the consequences, and that's with DS9 in general, because there's a lot of stuff that happens in DS9 that there's absolutely zero consequences for, and it doesn't stop here. I mean, it goes.
We're 10 episodes in, and I think almost half the episodes have avoided consequences. So yeah,
and they take those very light on DS9 as a whole, and it's just
execution, attempted murder, kidnapping.
It's another day in DS9. You know what I'm saying? It's just another day. But
they don't have brig space. Odo doesn't have the brig space.
Absolutely. And then this episode opens up the Nog Jake relationship a little more.
Yeah.
So you get a little more light on that. But when Ira said he actually created the Nagus and the rules of acquisition, it was all Godfather. And David Livingston, the guy who directed and wrote the episode, and this is I think this is the only episode that David Livingston actually wrote. But David Livingston is a prolific Trek director. He's directed over 60 episodes, all between all 4 series. I think he's the top one dude. And when he presented the idea to Ira was like, well, why don't we make it a Ferengi episode? And then immediately they thought of the Godfather. And right then he's like, well, okay. So he picked out a thesaurus to get the name for the Nagus. And he came across his Indian name, which is Nagus, I guess, which means leader in Indian or whatnot. And he adopted that to the Nagus. And then he's like, well, now I got to make like a financial Bible or rules. And he's like, how about the rules agreed? And then he's like, rules of acquisition. That's it. So, I mean, that's why we got the rules of acquisition created in this episode. And, but like I said, this is one of the best reoccurring themes throughout all of DS9 is the rules of acquisition. They are hilarious. I mean, it's like the cutthroat rules of capitalism, basically. And that's what it breaks down.
Agreed. I would say more greed than capitalism.
Yeah. But this is, like I said, this is the first time. And then the funny thing is, we never see Next Son again, like Crux. Like this is the only episode he's in. We don't see him ever again. He's never.
Well, he was obviously a disappointment. The Grand Nagus He actually followed the rules.
He did.
He didn't let his son stand in the way of opportunity. And he's like, "You're trash. I'm taking over."
And then, with Rom, and this is also a big Rom episode, this kind of establishes how Rom's going to be throughout the series, and slight the murder, what I'm saying? The attempted murder, you know what I'm saying?
He was being influenced. He was being influenced. It wasn't really him. Because you could tell they did a good job on that part, because you got the meeting with Quark there when he was like he was like going to give him an opportunity to be like, are you sure you don't want to give me the bar? Because then he wouldn't, like, I get, if Quark, like, there was the insinuation that if Quark was like, oh, you can have the bar, then he wouldn't have proceeded with the plan to murder him. And then obviously the delay on pushing the button too. He was still kind of hesitant on that as well. The Quark laughing was fantastic. And then like in the middle of the like, you don't even realize it's like a funeral kind of, and then Odo like shows up and it's just like and he's just like Quark is just like laughing hysterically, and Odo shows up. This is an interesting demeanor for a funeral. And then his son apparently is like selling his dad's.
Yeah, Ferengi do that. They vacuum desiccate their remains. And
so who did they kill? They killed someone. Ferengi got killed on the spaceship, or they brought a dead one in because they were selling him. So Odo failed at his job there too.
In a couple later episodes, you'll see Quark trying to sell some people that ain't them. You know what I'm saying? For extreme amounts of money, and that's the Ferengi way. But
no certificates of authenticity with those pieces.
Yeah, so I was saying letter of authenticity. Like, is this really Flag or Zach or whoever?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that starts in this episode as well, where we find out that the Ferengi death ritual is vacuum desiccating the remains of the Ferengi and selling them. And it makes perfect sense, I guess. I mean, for the culture they have. Yeah.
So, we already talked about our favorite parts. What was your favorite part, Ensign Ricky?
Teaching Jake how to read. One of the best parts in.
You mean Jake teaching Nog how to read?
Yeah, Jake teaching Nog. Yeah.
Okay.
But in the cargo bay, where Sisko kind of walks in on him, and there's the tension between, no, you guys shouldn't hang out. You have different values, and then they kind of go over that, and Sisko sees them running off, and he follows them into a cargo bay. And then he hears, Jake teaching Nog how to read, and he's just like, I'm just going to leave it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to leave it this. And then later on, he's like, go run and have, fun with your friend, and it's one of the heartwarming scenes of DS9, and it's in this episode, and it's, that's a very powerful scene.
I think it's the core principle of what Star Trek wants to be too.
Pretty much, acceptance and teaching helping other people, despite the differences of their cultures, basically.
Yeah, and also like it also shows that persistence as well, not giving up, because Nog is denied by his father. Jake is I would argue discouraged a little bit even by Sisko, especially when he says like sometimes you just have to accept that the way things are, and Jake doesn't accept that, and neither does Nog. Because they both are there, one's teaching and one's learning, and I think they're both learning from each other as well.
They are absolutely, and Nog eventually becomes a stronger one, But I mean, it's weird that you see him now, and Nog is just like this petty dude who can't read, still playing pranks and stuff like that. To watch him grow, because Nog has undoubtedly got the best story arc in this whole series.
Oh, really?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, his character goes from zero to hero, like that.
And Jake is the better actor in this one.
Absolutely, until later. It's later because right now they're still not really established. I mean, it isn't until I think season 2 or season 3 where Nog is like, "Hey, I want to join Starfleet," and that whole arc starts. And like I said, it's Nog has the hero to zero or zero to hero.
We don't want to get into those. Like, we talk about spoilers here.
Spoilers.
But we don't want to spoiler the.
Yeah, you're getting close. You're getting close. Luckily, it's not too far down the line.
So one of the things I also liked about this, I like the world building, and it was just kind of like these little, you talked about that as with the Ferengi and the rules of expositions, and we get the world building there. But you would just get these like tiny lines where Sisko in the beginning is like asking telling Jake about the Gratitude Festival, and then the fire caverns on Bajor, and
later too.
And that just like sparks your imagination. Like, what is the Gratitude Festival? Like, I'm interested to see what that is, and the fire caverns, like that sounds really cool too. I would want to know what that is. What are these fire caverns on this alien planet that there's positioned at?
And that's what DS9 really excels at, is world building. I mean, they world built more than any other Trek, and that's opening up the Ferengi, that's opening up the Klingons, that's opening up the Romulans, and all these other species in the Gamma Quadrant that we haven't seen yet. I mean, DS9 is the number one like lore show, I think, in my opinion, as far as what was presented and as far as how far they took it, because a lot of stuff we see even today is still from stuff that was said or based in DS9, and it's just because they're on the station. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like, they have no choice but to accept all these people coming in, as were TNG, Voyager, and Enterprise. They were just out there searching,
Right.
But DS9's got the whole other flavor. But they open up all the races more than any other Star Trek. I mean, you'll see more about the Klingons, you'll see more about the Ferengi, you'll see more about all these other species and each series, I guess, has their enemy. TG was kind of like a bland mix of everybody. But I mean, every series, like DS9 focused on the Ferengi and the Klingons. Voyager didn't really focus on much, but their races out there are amazing. Some of the Voyager enemies are some of the best in Trek. And then Enterprise focused a lot on the Andorians, and Picard focuses on the Romulans. So, I mean, each series, gets their respective, culture that they focus on. But DS9 just, you get more of everything from DS9 than any other Trek. And
what I saw from this episode is this one was mainly costume and character makeup.
This was
design.
The first comedic, like serious comedic episode. And this episode, because it was successful, actually spawned other comedic episodes. So, I mean, they didn't think that this was going to go over well, but it went over really well. And so this opened up the door to the writers and the producers to produce more, crazy episodes like this. And
Quark even tells a joke at one point to I think you're the walrus guy, and you only get the second half of the joke though. But he's like, he was his something like I thought it was his brother, but it was his wife or something like that.
Wife. Yeah.
And I just you don't know what the joke is, but it's still funny, especially because the guy he's like, what? And then Quark says his wife, and then it's like, and then you get the laughing.
Well, that dude is Morn, and he was the Norm of DS9. So I mean, they got him from Cheers. So that's the reason why we have Norm and Morn, and Morn is there in a lot of it. He's in a lot of episodes. You'll see him, but this is the only episode where he actually opens his mouth and laughs. So, I mean, every other episode, he kind of just sits there and Quark talks to him, and he just like does the eye thing, doesn't talk. The running gag is, Morn never shuts up, and he never says a word in DS9. You know what I'm saying? But this is the only time he opens his mouth and laughs. And
they gave a day player all that makeup to just
be at
the bar.
Well, I mean, DS9 is unique in the fact that the supporting cast, not just the main cast, the supporting cast was more important to the show than the actual main cast. And you can't really say that for any other Trek, because there's a lot of supporting characters that run episodes themselves. The episodes based on them.
Perfect example with Quark.
Garrick.
And Jake.
Garrick is the biggest. I don't know if we'd seen Garrick. You've seen Garrick once.
Yeah, we saw Garrick once, where he's acting as a Cardassian spy in his clothier shop in a reference to British spies that ran tailor shops.
Well, it was from Man from Uncle. The Man from Uncle. It was a tailor shop they ran out of in Man from Uncle. So I mean, that was like a callback to that. And I mean, this episode, even with the Godfather scene, because this is the Godfather scene in this, where Quark's the blinds are behind him, and he's talking to that guy, and he's like, "Well, so I'm Nagus now, right?"
That one was well shot. That one was well shot.
Was almost verbatim from the Godfather scene, and even some of the dialogue is the same. Well, I'm Nagus now. You know what I'm saying? But if you watch the Godfather scene and you watch that, it's very similar. Very similar. You can tell where the influence came from, But I love that scene where he's just like, well, now that I'm Nagus, and he just got like this air about him and stuff like that, But
yeah, that's when he was going back and forth with the guy to like negotiate the 50% or whatever.
Yeah,
I like that.
Like 50%.
He had that weird animal.
He's like this. He's gonna be popular, so we have to kill him now.
All right, so I know Don has to roll here, and we're approaching the 40-minute mark, which is where we kind of usually sign off. So let's just kind of go around the horn, and we'll start with you, Don. What would you give? What would your rating be for this episode?
Higher than the last episode.
Well,
What did you move on home?
Yeah, I don't know. I gave the other episode a 2, so anything above a 2 is great. Sheesh. Because I had that touching moment with Jake and Nog, and then Cisco walking in on it, I'll give it like a 8.
Okay,
I'll give it a 7.5. Yeah,
I'm on the low end, 7. Give it a 7.
Still high.
Yeah, no, it's still high. Like so 8 for me is like great. It's great.
and you'll see a couple of those episodes in season 1. There's 2 good ones that you guys haven't got to yet that are phenomenal, and they're Kira-based episodes, but they're both phenomenal.
So we got a lot to look forward to. All right, so any last comments that you guys want to make on this one? Oh, there was one thing I did want to make. So I was talking about the Gratitude Festival in Fire Caverns, and I just loved how like Jake was just such a typical. I mean, even though he's on this like space station, he's still a 14-year-old kid. His dad's trying to take him to some like festival to like visit the fire caverns, and he's like, no, I want to go, me and Nog want to go watch the anti-grav trackers on these like Endorian freighters, and it's just like, this is what I already got plans, Dad, like, sorry, I'll pass, can I pass? and so yeah, I just thought that was just a nice touching scene where even though he's still on this, he's been on this space station for probably months now, he gets the opportunity to leave, and he's like, no, I got plans. So I like that.
I got the trivia for the episode, and Cracks' Nagus' son is never seen again. This is the first episode of Established Ron. This is the first mention of the fire caves on Bayshore because they come important later. The Gratitude Festival is seen in the episodes Fascination and Tears of the Prophets, which come a little later. So we actually do see the festival. This is the return of Chief O'Brien from Earth as he's teaching the class, and Keiko is still not there. There's no star date up in this episode, so there's no star date anywhere in this episode.
Oh yeah,
we can get that.
Yeah.
That's right.
So they expect this episode to take place right after Dax, basically. Molly's age is incorrect. Cisco said she's 3, but she was born in Disaster, which is season 5, episode 5 of TNG, which was less than a year and a half ago. So Molly gained a year and a half coming to DS9.
Yeah.
She grew older. And the Ferengi Nagus staff was modeled after Quark's face.
Yeah,
So,
I could see that. It totally would look like Quark's face. Yeah,
So,
which
I
I
mean,
thought that was interesting.
That's what we got on trivia. Then obviously the first rules of acquisition we get here, and then that becomes an ongoing recurring theme up to, I think there's probably about 30 or so ones that we see on screen.
Oh, there's 30. Holy crap.
Yeah, we see one in Voyager. We see a couple in Enterprise. But other than that, it's pretty much all DS9.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate it. We will be back next week for Vortex.
Yeah, Vortex, I think, is the next one.
Forward to that one. This was definitely a much improved episode after Move On Home.
Well, seriously, these are all the character establishing episodes. So you get 2 episodes of Kira, you'll get 2 episodes of Odo, you'll get 2 episodes of O'Brien, you'll get 2 episodes of, and that's how it pretty much is. We have an O'Brien episode. The next episode I think is a Julian episode. Vortex I think is a Julian episode.
Oh, good. I like some Bashir. I know Don isn't the biggest fan, but
No,
I like Bashir as a
Bashir
character.
doesn't really, as I said, Bashir's one of those. They made him a complete dick in the first 2 seasons, and people were writing in like, we hate him. And then there's a couple episodes later on that kind of establish him as a good character, but we don't get that till I think end of season.
He's just really arrogant.
He is.
And very confident.
He's
Like
a horn dog.
he comes off as arrogant, but I think he's just super confident in his own abilities, and he proves that he proves that he has he has that confidence for a reason. With what he does so far,
and that's the biggest thing in him. First 2 seasons, he's such a horn dog. He's like jumping on every woman he can. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they make him that way. way, where it's like, not even like an emissary, not even 10 minutes after he meets Jadzia off the airlock for the first time, he's like, "Can we go to dinner?"
Yeah,
like
no,
10 minutes after meeting her,
Hey, he's confident. He's confident in his game. He's trying to make it happen. He's looking to settle down. Maybe not, but
well, he's
looking for the right woman.
After you guys, I don't want to spoil this, but Alexander Siddig and Andrew Robinson, the guys who played Bashir and Garrick, had put out a 4-episode web series of them doing everything in character for DS9. So and we got Armin Shimmerman, so we got Quark, Nira, and Jake in it as well, and they play out their parts. But you can literally tip your head back. But it's a web series on Alexander Siddig's channel. Sin City, that's what it's called. But it's called Together Alone, and it's a 4-episode web series that takes place after DS9. So it has Garrick, it has Bashir, it has Akira, Jake Sisko, and as well as Quark in it. They got all the actors come in and play their parts. And even Armin Shimmerman, even though they're not in makeup, Armin Shimmerman still puts in the teeth. And he still plays Quark with the teeth. It's so awesome. He puts the fake teeth in, and it just looks. You can just tell looking at him. You're just like, oh, this is 100% Quark. But that's supposed to be after the show. So if you haven't seen the show up to that point, you might not understand a lot of stuff that's going on.
I'll have to watch that afterwards.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is definitely worth watching. They are so good.
DS9.
All right. Well, again, thank you all for joining us. We will be back again next week to talk about Vortex. We usually start at 3 p.m. We were a little bit delayed today.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, I don't know if they're going to do it today or not. And then
I had to.
You jump on. I was like, all right, I got to go, guys.
My wife had a doctor's appointment, so we were there. It took us a little bit to get back here, and I still needed to watch the episode. So that's why we're a little bit delayed. But we will be back hopefully again next week at 3. The baby will probably be here, so I don't know if I will be on
here. You're having a little one. So
yes.
Nice, bro.
So I'm not sure if I will be here, but we'll hopefully get maybe have Instant Ricky back. Don will be here, and maybe get Drew back on the show as well.
Yeah, Drew probably be able to.
Have you guys run it next week? And then obviously tomorrow we're back with Bounding Live. We have a special guest. Lorena Creole will be joining us, and that's at 9 p.m. Eastern. Nice. So look forward to that, where we'll talk about the headlines of the week. We'll probably obviously spend a healthy amount of discussion on DC fandom and our reactions to all the various trailers and whatnot. And then on Friday, Spencer and I will be doing our Mobile Fighter G Gundam. We'll see if that happens. Depending on whether or not the baby arrives before then or then. So, but we're on that, and so that's I think we're on like episode 14 or 15 now. It's really getting into the story, so we're really enjoying that. So that's what we got going on with our live streams. Spencer has a God of High School review that I'll be getting up later today on the channel as well. So I don't know how big of a crossover between Star Trek and God of High School there is. But God of High School is like a fighting anime. Both Spencer and I enjoy it, and we do both. I've been enjoying Deep Space Nine. Spencer does our Lower Decks reviews. He's also a Star Trek fan, so we know there's at least one crossover, maybe two, if you count myself. So if you like fighting anime or just fighting
then
shows,
you have actual, if you like Battlestar, and that's probably pretty closely linked to Star Trek just because of the producer. But So and that's always great to watch. I love Drew's Pegasus Actual.
Yeah, he does that on Thursdays at 9 for the Battlestar Galactica too. So be sure to head over there and subscribe to his channel and check him out on Thursdays. All right, thank you all for joining us. We will see you tomorrow, and if not, we will see you next Wednesday for Trek Tuesday. Have a great one, guys.
Later.